This week on Influence, she shows us how to fight the good fight, one hilarious Instagram at a time. Internet travelers and Netscape navigators, welcome back to Influence with me, Matt Silverman, covering all things internet creativity, social media, making a living on the World Wide Web, the information superhighway, as I like to call it. And I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're staying sane. I hope that you are continuing to find ways to laugh, because let me tell you something. It's rough. It's rough out there. Okay? It's just a little tricky right now. But my guest today has some knowledge for you. She has some laughs for you. She has some expertise that I told her before we started recording. I've become a huge fan. I got to shout out a friend of mine. Shout out to Josephine, who, when I rebooted the show, she was very gracious in sending me a lot of suggestions for guests. And she's like, "Oh my God, you got to check out this Instagram TikTok person." She does a lot of like legal analysis and public health kind of stuff. A lot of, some COVID stuff going on. And I was like, okay. A lot of people were sending me suggestions. I'm like, okay. Instagram people. Okay. Then I finally took a look at her work, and I was not only blown away, but I was laughing, LOLing. Lulls were happening. So I will tarry no further. My guest today is a privacy lawyer who has, of course, a degree in law, but also a master's in public health. But all right, get this. She's also a stand-up comedian. What? Okay. She's got 800,000 followers across Instagram, TikTok, maybe more. I don't know. Twitch, YouTube, Pinterest. We're going to find out. She's going to correct me in a moment. What does she do on these platforms, you may ask? Well, thank you for asking. She is breaking down incredibly complicated topics using her huge social media audience, including things like government funding, public policy, legal, court battles, civil rights, human rights, labor issues, debunking social media myths, advocating for marginalized groups, and fighting the good fight every day. And also, guess what? It's funny. It's really fucking funny. I'm sorry to say this. No offense to all of my previous guests. We've had a lot over the years. She might be the coolest and smartest person we've ever had on the show. Please welcome Elizabeth Booker Houston to Influence. How are you?
Oh man, that was an introduction.
No pressure.
No pressure. Damn. Hey, thanks for having me.
We filmed before our live studio audience. You're no stranger to applause, I presume.
Yeah. Get a little applause here and there. Yeah.
It's so nice to meet you. I ask every guest, most guests, how do you explain what you do for a living? And it seems like it's complicated these days for you. You do a lot of things.
I do a lot of things. It is really hard to explain what I do, and it changes all the time, depending on what setting I'm in. But it comes down to me basically saying I cuss, yell about a lot of politics and law on the internet, and that's at the core of it. But yeah, it's very difficult to kind of pin down what the hell I'm doing from day to day, and it shifts so much. And I'll be doing stand up on Thursday, but last night I was in the Capitol until midnight, covering the as we called it, state of disunion.
Uh-huh.
So it'll just shift between I'm telling, I don't know, really dark humor jokes on stage, or I'm interviewing politicians, and it's just whiplash all the time.
Totally. And then I presume if you're talking to not extremely online people, family, friends, coffee shop, whatever,
mm-hmm.
Their next question is okay, so do you make a living? How do you make money?
Yeah.
What does that look like for you?
Yeah, they definitely wonder about that. They're like, how does that work? How do you make a living? And so I do have a day job. I love my day job. Yeah. I love my day job still as a lawyer, full time,
mm-hmm.
Until, Doge and those Doge boys, probably boot me out.
Right.
But I love my job.
Are you, sorry if I should have known this, are you public about your employment, or
I
you're
am now.
Okay.
I never talked about, it was never a secret. LinkedIn has been up, but because of the way they're attacking the federal workforce, oh, hell yeah. I'm very public about it now, because I was like, we've got to speak up. Like, I have this big platform. This is ridiculous. I'm watching my coworkers and folks in the federal government be attacked, watching agencies being dismantled. I would be pissed if I didn't use my platform to speak up. So at this point in time, I am finally merging the two worlds and talking about it publicly. So I've been with HHS for almost 8 years. In the DC area. And but then I have this whole second career, which I am grateful to be able to fall back on, which is all of this internet stuff. Right. And I honestly, I probably make the same amount of money or more from the internet stuff. So yes. At this point, I only started monetizing in the last few years. And it definitely turned into a whole other stream of income for sure.
What? Oh gosh, everything you do is just hitting at this crazy time. It's all intersecting and your worlds are colliding. So we'll talk about that. So, okay. So an attorney at the Department of Health and Human Services and its policy and
so I don't practice. I actually don't practice as an attorney. I am a lawyer. I say I'm not an attorney. I don't do the license thing. I don't represent clients. So I'm not in the office of general counsel or anything
I'm
like
sorry.
that.
Those two terms, I'm not in your world. So they're not interchangeable.
Yeah, they have become that way, like, in the discourse, but really how they're supposed to be is that attorneys are the folks who are licensed and they represent clients. There's a ton of lawyers that do not practice. I don't want to go to court. I never wanted to go to court. As soon as I graduated law school, I was like, nope, dipping. I am not doing the attorney thing. So
you're advising the HHS about
policy. Legal research. I'll do a bunch of the research, and then, then the litigators can take it, or whatever they're going to do with it. And I've done a few different roles. I've also been a scientist with HHS as well. Before going to law school, I actually worked in biochemistry research with an NIH-funded grant. So I've been on the STEM side. I've also been on the social science side, and then the lawyer side. And so, it's a much more low key kind of legal existence. And then I teach law students. I also teach. I'm an adjunct professor. I teach food and drug law. So
just speaking on behalf of all of my listeners and the rest of the world, if you could do less things, leave some of the things for us, that would be great.
Everybody's like, you just do it. My dad is so funny because he's just like, that's been me my entire life. I come home and I'm just like, I'm just gonna go do a thing. So
always doing. I get it.
Yeah, like I came home one day, I was like, I'm gonna go to Brazil and do biochemistry research. And I was like, all right, and so I did. And then I came home and I was like, I'm gonna go work at this body waxing place. That sounds fun. And then I did that. I was a model for a while. I did pageants. And then I was like, I think I want to go to medical school. So I did some post-bac stuff. I was like, no, I'm going to go to law school instead. And I was like, oh, you know what? I want to get my master's in public health at the same time because I still want to do the scientist thing.
Right. I'm
going to see if they'll let me do it. So then my university, I was the first JD/MPH dual grad from the university. And so then one day I was like, I'm going to be a comedian. And my dad just rolls with it. My dad is so funny because his friends will ask her, what the hell is Elizabeth doing? And I see her on the internet and she's all over the place. And he's like, whatever the hell she wants. I don't know. This has been her whole life. So it's whatever.
Keep going. So you alluded to how, you are using your platform literally right now to address what is going on right now. But before we get into that, walk us back, you have you have this education, you have this focus of your career. When did social media and comedy, were you using social media then to promote the comedy, the stand-up, or what was the entry point there for you?
Yeah, no, it was COVID, like a lot of folks. Okay. I was also postpartum with a newborn baby.
Oh, wow.
So I was on maternity leave when COVID hit, and I had just shifted career fields into privacy law because I thought that my specialty that I had chosen was not going to be very relevant. My specialty was the law of epidemics, pandemics, isolation, quarantine, all that stuff.
Wait. So I'm sorry. You were focusing there right before the pandemic hit?
Yeah. I trained at the CDC's public health law program.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I was like, nah, let me find something that's a little relevant.
This will never be useful.
And then a damn global pandemic hit. And I was like, bitch, shut up. So then I had a bunch of people reaching out to me, especially because I was like still a baby lawyer. I was barely out of school.
Okay.
And I had all these old lawyers reach out. They were like, how many public health law people know? They're like, we got one. We got one alumni. She's in DC. She went to CDC. She was trained at the tippy top. So call her. And they would call and ask me about things like masking and stuff like that. Like, I knew all about the 10th Amendment and like public health power. And like, nobody knows the damn 10th Amendment. Like, you ask lawyers like the fucking 10th. Who talks about the 10th Amendment?
What is it? Educate us.
It's the reservation powers to the states. And that's what gives the states public health power. See, it's important for public health. But it's not super, this is so niche. Like, it's a very niche area of law. And so they were calling me and asking me stuff. And then there was the TikTok thing happening. I was like, I know some shit about some public health. So I'll make some videos so that people can have the information. And then it went from there. But I didn't take it. Like, there wasn't like a clear focus. Like, I think some people got on and they were like, every week I'm doing this briefing, blah, blah. I was just like, I'd be breastfeeding the baby. Maybe just be kind of off camera and be like, hey, this is some crazy shit that happened today. Like, my content is very not aesthetic. It's very, you're going to catch me in my car, my messy bun in my bed.
But that's what it is. But that realness and authenticity. Well, this is what strikes me about your work is like, it's just you in the car. It's just you just in front of your wall, in front of your bookshelf. But then you are just dropping this unedited stream of like knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb, like just this such precise. I was saying to my wife yesterday as I was prepping for the internet, I'm like, when I argue in my head with hypothetical people that are stupid about these issues, I'm not smart enough or knowledgeable enough to say all the things I want to say. And then I watch Elizabeth's work and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I want to tell people, but I don't have the knowledge. I'm sure people say that to you. Do people say like, I wanted to say this, but instead I just sent them your TikTok? Is that
but that's how I fight. Like, people know me in real life and Memphis are like, no, she talks like that. Like, she'll rip you a new one. There's a whole piece of drama. I'm gonna post a video about it this week about somebody I went to law school with, and it was a whole situation. I cussed her ass out too back in the day. But people are like, oh, she really talks like that. And so it's surprising to people. So when I went to the DNC with the other creators, last year, people are scripted in ways that you don't know that they're scripted, which makes sense. Absolutely. Like, not knocking it. Like, write your stuff out. Stuff is good.
Totally.
Like, folks are talented. But people thought I was scripted. And then I remember there was a moment I was standing with all the creators and we were scrolling as we were walking and and I said, this Ann Coulter bitch, she done talk shit about Tim Walz' son. I said, fuck this hoe. I said, y'all wait 2 seconds. And I set the tripod up and I did this whole rant. And then I stopped and I said, okay, we can keep going. And they looked at me, they were like, you really do that shit. That's really how you talk. You really just did the thing, and then you set the camera, because I do one shots, which mostly is just laziness for me. I don't like editing, and so
but most people can't do it. They don't have the mind like you have, so we do it out of necessity.
But I wish I had like the really cool editing skills. When I see other people, they like it's. But yeah, that video went crazy viral. Everybody was just like, "Damn!" They're like, "You." And so I had witnesses there who were like, "Yeah, she does that.
This is a real deal.
She just sets the camera up and she says the thing."
So you're getting to my next question, which is like, all right, so you're sharing public health information, you're sharing your expertise. Is that early stuff fun and funny? And when do you start to realize that you are really reaching people, that you were like, oh wait, I have something cooking here?
I was cracking jokes from the jump. I was making fun of all those anti-vaxxers. I mean, first of all, I'm mean as shit. And so I was just like being mean to all these people. So there were jokes always interspersed. Like I said, I wasn't real serious about it. It was like me cracking jokes. The first video that went viral was the sibling rating video. That was the thing. There was a trend of rating your siblings, rating your family members on TikTok early on 2020. And I went through all my siblings. I got 4 siblings. I got 3 sisters and a brother. And I went through my sisters and I rated them and I was like, kind of dogging them out and stuff. And I made a joke about my sister India. I was like, she got the good sense to not fool with men though, because she's a lesbian, so I'll give her a 5, like whatever. And then we get to my little brother, and I was like, real cool baby, the family videographer, photographer, but he just up and died, and that wasn't cool, man. I was like, man, like 3 out of 10, like something like that. And people were like, God damn. They were like, that was dark. And, it's during the pandemic. And then my niece, my oldest niece, or my youngest niece, actually, she was like, do one about your nieces and nephews. And she knew what she was doing. My nephew had died. Her brother had died after that. So then it was the same thing. And so...
was it... And I'm sorry. Was this COVID related or was this other stuff?
No, they dipped out before the damn pandemic. These assholes.
They missed everything.
No, they missed everything. No, so my brother in 2017, he was shot and killed in a random shooting in Memphis. And then 18 months later, my nephew died of an alcohol-related death. And so he was 20... my brother was 25 and my nephew was 22. So I have... My sister is like 12 years older than I am. Like, we're closer in age to some of our nieces and nephews than our actual siblings. Yeah. So when I say nephew, I think people picture like little kid. But he was
I was thinking of a kid. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But it's horrible either way, of course. But
and he had a son, my nephew, and like so there was this whole thing, and so that became a whole thing there. And then I was joking about the "Let's Go Brandon" stuff, but my nephew's name was Brandon, and so I made a video, and I was like, y'all. This just makes me think about my nephew Brandon. He would think this shit is so funny that everybody's saying his name because of Trump. And I was like, what y'all should do is every time somebody says, let's go Brandon, respond with Crunchy White Pimp Forever. Because my nephew was a white rapper named Crunchy White Pimp, right? And that's real. It's a real thing. It's on his headstone. We got Crunchy White Pimp on his headstone. It's real. I'm not making it up. Named himself after Crunchy Black, which is a Memphis rapper. Okay. Anyway. So I was like, just respond with Crunchy White Pimp Forever. And then that took off and Daily Beast wrote an article about it. And all of a sudden, all these Trump supporters were like, they're calling us a new slur. Like, they're calling us Crunchy White Pimp. It's a slur. And like, they didn't get the joke because they don't know how to meme over there. On the right. Well, so is the whole thing.
I'm very fascinated by all that because I've covered it here a lot of like when social media, when any piece of content is transmitted outside of the the cultural context in which it was created, that's when it just shit goes sideways with all in good ways and bad,
Oh yeah. And then you get a video from me talking about here's how emergency use authorizations work, and people just like, hey, so they would come to these videos. They'd be like, right. Today she's joking about her brother dying, and then today she was making fun of anti-vaxxers. Oh, now she's talking about how like science and shit works. Okay, and people were just rolling with it, and that's pretty much my content now. It's whatever I'm feeling and vibing with.
Which is also a bit rare because I think when algorithms are like, you do science things and you always do science things and people are like, it's the science lady. And then you do a comedy video, people are like, what? And then they scroll past and then the algorithm is like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But somehow you have brought all these things. You are a personality driven, people come for you and the knowledge, not necessarily one or the other.
It's interesting. It was because I didn't think much of it. I wasn't thinking at the time I'm going to turn this into a career. And then it was 2021. I was like, I always wanted to do stand up. Let me go do that. And it was just a bucket list thing. And then I killed my first set, and I was like, I guess I do stand up now. And so then that that became a thing.
Publishing online and being funny came before stand up.
Yeah. And then that was the next test because, I had a little bit of a following, but internet comedians, man, you try to get up on stage, they fall flat a lot. Yep. And I had no expectations. I was like, I just want to do this because it'd be funny. And then the DC comedy scene were like, damn, she's actually funny. Like, she doesn't just post on the internet. She's actually... So then I started getting booked for shows and stuff.
That's great.
Now I've opened for some cool folks. I've gotten to open several times for D.L. Hughley, Atsuko Okatsuka. Let me open for her at the Lincoln Theater. Alok Vade Manan. Shantae Wayans, who I love Shantae. Shantae is amazing. And getting to meet all of these really cool comedians and do stand-up, which I'm by no means like the best stand-up comedian at all. I think I'm pretty decent. I think I'm pretty all right. Which was really just the goal. Like I never really seek to be just the best at anything. I'm just like, let me be okay enough and I'm not wasting anybody's time. But I always say that like I really enjoy stand-up and I like doing it. I've taken a step back from stand-up over the last few months because when I'm really in my bag, it's with the political commentary stuff. I'm like, I know what I'm really good at. And that's it. And so I did my first tour, which was the Together We Might Town Hall tour in October.
Yes.
With my co-host, Jasmine Burton, who's also a Black female lawyer comedian. And the reason we linked up is because the white producers in DC kept mixing us up. and thinking they were booking one or the other, and they were booking the wrong person.
So you didn't even know each other, but you were being booked as the same person.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and now we're like thick as thieves, and we tour together. We co-host No Distractions now, which is a Congressional Black Caucus PAC sponsored series that is going at least until June. We'll see if they'll renew a contract. We'll see how it does.
Hold on. Backing up. Is that a TV show? Is that a YouTube channel? What is that?
It is on our Instagram. It's also on my YouTube, and it's just a series of videos. So we're keeping it really low key right now, testing the water, see how that goes. Maybe that turns into something more. But and it's you kind said of our first start.
Together we might, which is like your theoretical campaign slogan if you were to run for office or president. Could you explain that? I saw that video. I loved it.
So people keep wanting me to run for office, which I was like, nah, the way I talk. But now I see Jasmine Crockett, who I got to talk to last night. She's so funny. And I see her and I'm like, okay, y'all do want somebody to cuss these people out. But people want me to run for office. And that's not in the cards for me. But I made a joke. I said, if I do run for office, my campaign's going to be Together We Might, because I can't promise you shit, but I can promise you maybe. No, yes, we can over here. Maybe.
People want you to do this because we see the right just making whatever fucking shit up out of the air and everyone just saying, yes, we believe that. And shitting on, like, you have scientists and people who are like, please, the pandemic is bad. And you have other people being like, no, it's not. And so I guess what I'm trying to articulate is like, we just want someone to fucking fight back and call bullshit on the bullshit.
Yeah.
In outside of Instagram, we want them to fight back on the floor of the Senate. AOC and others are doing this, but we need more of those people.
I think there's a lot of folks rising up, especially after, like I said, being at the Capitol last night and talking to folks. There's definitely a growing coalition of folks. A lot of them walked out of the speech last night. Right, they threw Al Green out when he was waving his cane. I was like, dang, he's getting to fighting. Also, rest in power to Representative Sylvester Turner, who passed away last night.
Okay.
I had interviewed him. He was a member of Congressional Black Caucus, representative from Texas, and I had spoken to him, and then some hours later he's being taken out in an ambulance. And I was like, oh, good Lord. I said, not Trump's speech being so bad he killed a representative. Like, Jesus Christ.
See, you got the punchlines are always there. Oh, for listeners, we're recording this on March 5th, which is one day after the State of the Union or whatever.
Joint address, whatever they called it.
Whatever it was. And so you'll be hearing this a week later, but we are here today responding to those events. Please continue.
Yeah. So they're rising up. They're fighting. We're seeing more and more of it. We're seeing some of the junior Congress members who I got an interview. I got to talk to Seth Magaziner again last night. I adore him. He was definitely one of the folks who was right out front with Jasmine Crockett and everybody at the Department of Treasury when they were like, y'all got to let us in because what is Doge doing? So there's a lot of wins that are happening. But yeah, we need more of that. We need more. If anybody wants to see somebody who just will cuss and talk and smack down some Republicans, y'all have to check out Sydney Comlager Dove. She is representative from California. She's funny as hell. And she was talking shit. I loved her. I got to meet her and speak with her yesterday. And we're getting more of that. And so I understand why people want me to be in there, but I'm like, really, my place is out here because first of all, I am a Maryland resident. Ain't no help from me taking a blue seat from a blue whatever. Like,
that's a fair point. Right.
I'm not trying to take. We've got Angela Also Brooks. She's got it. We've got Van Hollen. He's got it. I'm not trying to take anybody's seat. Whatever. There's no help there. It'd be different, I think, if I had a chance to unseat a Republican. I'd probably consider it, but that's not my case. But also, I get access because they are seeing the value of content creators and having independent folks who are outside of traditional media there. I can go and talk to a bunch of different Congress people and cover a bunch of different issues that they can't because they have to be focused to make sure to serve their constituents. And so I understand people think you want folks to run for office, but there's a lot of value from working outside of that realm too, but being adjacent to the political scene. And so I do feel like I bring something to it. I talk to them about policy. I talk to them about laws. We talk about these things. They need advisors. They need people to talk about stuff.
Yeah. especially educated advisors and communicators. I have, I worry about choir preaching with all of this stuff in general, and that's a fear of mine. But before we proceed, we'll talk about that. Before we proceed, I want to play clips of Elizabeth's work. If you're not familiar, I just want you to see some of this work if you're watching the video version, and of course hear her breakdowns, her unpacking of these really complicated issues. So I'm going to play clips for you here now.
Several people sent this to me worried and said, do we have no more recourse? And I hate this headline. It is very misleading. It says, judge won't block Musk and Doge from accessing data, making cuts at 7 federal agencies. I read the opinion. I'm going to break it down for you. So what happened is several states sued for a temporary restraining order, or TRO, against Doge for all the nonsense they're engaging in, okay? Now, to get a TRO, a plaintiff has to show irreparable harm. Who's the plaintiff in this case? The states. So the states have to show irreparable harm to the states as the entities that they are, not just random citizens or anybody, the states specifically. And they said, well, if Doge makes funding freezes like we think they might, this might happen to us. And the court said, not good enough, can't give you a TRO. And it makes sense because irreparable harm has to be certain and great. It has to be actual, not theoretical, beyond remediation. That means it has to be bad, and we have to know it's coming. This message is for Democratic politicians. If you are not a Democratic politician, you can stay or scroll or whatever it is you want to do, okay? All right. When y'all gonna fuck this motherfucker up? We have Nazis at the goddamn door, and y'all are still doing this civility, playing by the rules, respectability politics bullshit, and we got 1933 Part 2 on American soil. So I have to ask you, what the fuck are you gonna do? How about we start with that asshole in the white supremacy house who rescinded yesterday's OMB memo causing a federal funding freeze and chaos and confusion all over the country. Caroline Leavitt, who is the resident handmaiden cosplaying as a White House press secretary, said, well, we rescinded this because we didn't want any court rulings or dishonest media causing any more confusion. Excuse me? I think what she meant to say is we intentionally put out something that is heinous, unlawful, and unconstitutional, hoping no one would notice and we wouldn't get called out for it. And now we've got to take our dirty ass hands and hide them behind our backs like we weren't doing this on purpose. Is that what you meant? I think so. I know I've asked y'all for a lot of calls to action over the last couple of weeks, and with the chaos and confusion, it can feel like nothing is working, but I promise you it's working. So you may recall that I made a post asking you to tag the governors in your states, especially blue states, and ask them to address these unconstitutional executive orders. A lot of y'all in Pennsylvania tagged Governor Josh Shapiro, and baby, he listened. He has now filed a lawsuit on behalf of the state of Pennsylvania to go after that man's administration for the unconstitutional freeze on federal funding, including $1.2 billion due to the state of Pennsylvania. If you ever needed confirmation that the trolls on the internet are full of shit, just know that I am a 5'10", size 4 woman who is a former model and former pageant girl, and this is my real hair, and them motherfuckers always try to tell me that I am fat, I am ugly, and that my hair is not real. So anyway, y'all want a clapback video? I think you need cheering up. Here's a clapback video. Starting strong with, why do liberals always look like this? Because we don't procreate with our cousins. I'm sorry you have a Habsburg jaw and a receding lip line. We own you. You don't even own mouthwash. Are you a linebacker? Yeah, and your mom blows me under the bleachers. Are you a man or a woman? It's hard to tell. I'm your daddy hush. I don't know why they keep making these transphobic jokes over here, okay? All it tells me is that they must not be very manly if they're getting all the masculine energy from me. Say whatever you want, but it doesn't change the fact that he's the president. And him being the president doesn't change the fact that you can't buy groceries. Tough. Really? What happened? What happened? Y'all thought you wanted cheaper groceries, did it? Oh, okay.
You're creeping up on 400,000 followers on Instagram.
I hit it.
Oh, did you hit it already?
I hit it.
You were at 399. Congrats.
Thanks. I was like, oh shit, when I saw.
and similar numbers on TikTok, but I am curious if you have preferences or differences between those platforms. Are you cross-posting the same content? Is there different culture going on in those places?
Oh, I ain't fucking with TikTok. Before the ban happened, I deleted the app and I haven't posted there since. Now I
see.
I left my account up because I don't want anybody stealing my shit. But I'm not posting over there. I haven't been over there. Those people crazy. I got my start on TikTok and I get it. I appreciate it, but I do prefer Instagram. TikTok. I have opinions about TikTok. I know people are like, oh, it's the most authentic place. No, it's not. TikTok is the number one place to get yourself caught up in circular discourse.
Yeah.
And an echo chamber because they're like, the algorithm's so good. I'm like, yeah, the algorithm's so good. You're being stuck in an echo chamber, baby. Yeah. And what finally did it in for me were all of the far leftists who were trying to get people to not vote with what I still to this day suspect is a terrible psyop campaign on TikTok. Okay, the way they were over there, like, we just need to let everything burn, and I was like, yeah, y'all motherfuckers are detached from reality. We're done. So
Lord.
I've kind of dipped out from over there, especially after watching Chube and the need of Trump, the CEO, and we already deal with it with Meta and everything else. But I was like, at least I know Zuckerberg's a snake. At least I know what's going on over here.
It's fucking crazy to be like, the algorithm on this platform's too insane, so I'm going to use Instagram where everything's. I mean, I know you're not saying this, but like, we are in a state. I
reach actual people on Instagram. I don't know how many trolls are coming. The bot farms on TikTok are bad people. It's rough. We got bot farms everywhere, but I talked to some folks. I got to go travel to Berlin and talk to folks in the German Council on Foreign Relations with an influencer information exchange. They are way better at looking into privacy and data and all that. TikTok's a problem. It is definitely a problem. But a lot of people have an overinflated sense of what are actual people following them, which is why I'm so sorry to say this. I'm so sorry to say this, Pookie Bears, if you are a creator who is relying heavily on TikTok. If you're following as such a stark difference, you can't carry your content across platforms. If you can't build a similar kind of following elsewhere, I am so sorry to say that your shit's probably inflated over on TikTok.
Yes, and so that's phenomenal advice. Yeah,
and I hate to say it, but it was years ago, before all of this, where I said, let me see if my shit can stand alone. I had less than 1,000 followers on Instagram. I said, let me cross post over here, and it blew up the same. And now my YouTube is growing, and so that's the thing, was trying to see if my content could translate across platforms. I'm almost at 20,000 on Facebook now. I've started focusing on Facebook posting. Again, it's a slow startup and a slow build when you're building a new platform. I've got about 22,000 subscribers on Substack. I've been focusing on that for the past month. But you have to see where you can grow across platforms. And TikTok made a lot of people feel a little too secure. Yeah, and I never felt that security, especially as a Black creator, because they were suppressing us and targeting us early on. And so it was back in like 2022 where I was like, I got to find something that's not TikTok because this is not sustainable. They were talking about a ban even when Trump was in office.
Right, sure.
We got to make a shift. And so, but it was mostly getting caught up in that mess and that nonsense of people just in the drama. TikTok likes its own drama. They like to amplify things that make you stay in the app. And also there's a lot of very specific manual manipulation from the moderators, which we know. This has been admitted over and over and over again.
But when you say moderators, like at the corporate level, or
like they have the go viral button. We get to decide who goes viral and then who gets suppressed.
So you're saying there is manual,
manipulation. Which was said directly to me from the folks at TikTok when I was working as a social scientist and talking to them about recruitment efforts for research. It's not a secret. Right. Everybody's got their different favorite platforms. I still don't want TikTok to be banned because I don't want people to miss out on their income. It hurts the creator economy. Takes away another platform of self-expression. I'm just saying that as of right now, I've still decided that I am not posting over there because it got weird. And a lot of political creators, especially Black creators, were like, yeah, there's a lot of strange behavior happened over there about let everything burn, which it's like, wait a minute now. Black folks, we didn't sign up for that.
It's fascinating and disturbing. My refrain is typically like, yeah, it's bad, but we also need to have comprehensive privacy reform across all the platforms.
All of it. They're all
fix the issue. It won't fix it. It's not a magic bullet, but don't ban one platform.
No.
Regulate all of them, and then we can actually start getting shit done.
100%. The way they went about that ban was insane. I was like, I can't believe I got to defend TikTok. Like, I was like, I don't want to defend this, but
exactly.
Yeah, because I had been saying for a long time, I was like, let that app burn. And then they were trying to get us like, wait a minute now, okay, hold on. Now I sound like the let it burn people. Don't let it all burn down. Wait a minute, God damn it. I was just angry because they suppressed my shit. Hold on now, you can't do this to people's speech.
Let's set aside the algorithms and the platforms for a moment. Let's talk about human beings. Are there any that have? I know there are. Are there messages or comments or connections you've made that have kept you going? Like what do your fans say to you that make you feel like, yeah, okay, I'm getting back to work?
I'm going to tell you, there is nothing like going from the internet and being able to fill a room of actual people.
Oh, yeah.
Selling out shows. Ooh, that is a good ass feeling. It was the night before the election. It was a Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
Jasmine and I had our finale of our tour in DC, and we had sold out the upstairs of the DC Comedy Loft, which if you've ever been there, it's a very large room. Mm-hmm. And it was mostly women, mostly Black women. And that's my main demographic is Black women. I'm a Black woman. I'm a Black woman from the South. That's who I speak to. But I have women from all over. My Nashville show, those white ladies, they bought all the tickets. Like the Nashville show was sold out too,
Yeah.
Women in general. And getting to talk to them in person, get a hug, or even when people see me out in public and they're just like, thank you so much for what you're doing. Like, it's really important. And I hear that a lot. The people say, what you're doing is so important. You're saying a lot of things a lot of us are thinking. Right. Just like hearing that keeps me going, that I'm like, okay, I'm reaching people on a level that is going beyond just like an internet joke or like a quick video. The fact that I had a woman, one woman drove like 4 hours to come to our show.
Wow.
It's crazy to see things like that and meet these people when they're so excited to meeting people from Congress who are excited to meet me. And I'm like, I'm excited to meet you.
They're aware of you.
I remember being at the Ellipse during Kamala Harris's rally, the big one in DC.
Is that a stadium? What's the Ellipse?
The Ellipse is like the outside area, like near the White House. It's the big lawn. This, where Trump did his speech, and then the January 6th stuff popped off. And
cool.
So she was there. And there were like 75,000 people there, which I didn't realize because I went and I was in the very front. And I mean the very front, where she's walking by and Doug is walking by, and she had waved at us and all this, and she looked and waved. And a member of her staff came over and he said, we just want you to know that you are very influential on the campaign.
Oh my God.
Oh shit.
Wow.
That was a crazy moment. I was like, oh, y'all been watching my stuff for real, for real. Oh, the vice president knows what's up.
So it's your fault that you didn't do enough.
Yeah.
You didn't make enough Instagrams.
I fucked up. I didn't know. That was like at the end too. I was like, wait a minute, I would have been making a lot more content. What are y'all talking about? Hold on. But no, it's just stuff like that.
On that topic, briefly, like we felt so deflated because we felt so much momentum, and we felt not like it was a lock, but we really felt like it was like, it's really going to happen. Like, there's no way that more people who voted for Biden in 2020 would flip or whatever. And so like right up to the election, like, did you know that it was going to go south, or were you optimistic?
Oh no, I knew it was going south.
You felt it. And
100%.
What were the indicators for you being so plugged into that?
She's a Black
world.
Woman.
Is that as simple as that?
Straight up. I didn't have any hope. I said she's ran the best campaign she could in 107 days. But my husband and I had been making plans. We were already talking like, what do we need to move? What do we need to do? We already knew, like, my husband got illegally terminated from HHS some weeks ago because of the Doge stuff. We saw that coming months ago. Right. And I'm going to tell you how much this went into our planning. Is we found a house, which I'm currently sitting in. I'm glad to secure because ain't nobody about to be able to buy houses in a minute because of that man. We found a house. It was our dream house. I was like, we're going to sit on this. Because I was like, this election's about to happen. And Billy was like, yeah, it's my husband. And I was like, yeah, this is not. We're going to see what happens. And so it was like, are we going to stay? Are we going to go? What are we going to do? And then we were like, this is the time to buy a house, though. Like, we literally said, because we're like, if she loses and he gets in office, we ain't going to be able to get shit. And they're not going to lower these interest rates. So, like, we were
meaning that the economy would shift so dramatically that it would be so difficult to buy. Yeah,
and also, I just knew his administration wasn't going to be for lowering interest rates. You know, the way that stuff is controlled. So anyway, just kind of monitoring that stuff and figuring out what we wanted to do and what we wanted to do with like making plans in case we wanted to leave the country. I mean, seriously,
right?
Because I know people say that like if he wins, I'm like, well, no, I was on the front lines of like the campaign shit and like. They know who I am. I mean, they know. I had to sit on a panel with Trump's lead advisor, that dickhead, just about a month ago. And like, they know what we do on social media and all this stuff. They don't like it. They know we're there. And I was like, we got to make contingency plans for stuff. And I was like, fuck it. So we went ahead and bought the fucking house. I was like, I'm not getting chased out. I'm not getting chased out of here. But I really did. Like, I was making very intentional moves. and running myself ragged because I told my husband, like, I don't feel good about this, but if I don't do everything that I possibly can to try to get votes, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And so I did everything that I could, but I didn't have hope. We were making plans last February with the way things were going down with Palestine. I was like, oh.
Right.
And I told my husband, I was like, this genocide is crazy.
Yeah.
And horrific. Oh, the Democrats have shit the bed. Oh shit, there has now been a social media movement that has somehow, in a psyop-y way, convinced a bunch of woke leftists. I hate to use that word. They call themselves that. Well, I say that about white people. White woke leftists, because they stole the phrase woke. Which is
Elizabeth's putting air quotes. For audio listeners, she's doing air quotes with her fingers. Yeah.
Because white people love to steal the rhetoric. So they stole the woke, and I got white boy leftists trying to tell me about wokeness every fucking day. So I'm mocking them.
It's folding insane. In on itself. All of the
it's folding in. But I told my husband, I was like, they have convinced these people that burning their own country down will somehow save that. I said, that's suspicious. Oh goddamn, we're gonna see years from now. Y'all cannot convince me that for years from now we will not see some sort of study that talks about how that was a very intentional rhetoric injected into that group of people so that they, as a form of voter suppression and apathy. I was like, how are y'all not seeing this? How are y'all? They have somehow, we went from listen to black women to fuck you black women and you need to give up your right to vote. Y'all fuck you and your right to vote that you've only had since the 60s. Like you need, I was like, this is the craziest shit I have ever seen.
It hurts.
And watching it happen. But I said Dunning-Kruger is just as strong on the left as it is on the right. It really and truly is. And this was an example. So when that was happening a year ago, me and my husband were like, oh, this ain't good. This ain't good. And I was like, I was at the BET Awards and Taraji P. Henson was talking about Project 2025. And I was just like, oh, shit.
All right, but you're still here.
I'm still here.
You're still here in the U.S. for the time being.
Yeah. I have hope. I have a lot of hope. These people are stupid. So that was one thing I had to figure out, is figuring out this administration. They're evil as shit, but they're so stupid. And so they fucked up
Which makes me, I can't decide if they're so insidious where they are like, you're, psyoping and planting this crazy shit, or if they're just so fucking stupid that they just say stupid things and there's no way to combat the stupidness.
Now they're very good at marketing. They are very good at their marketing. They are selling a lifestyle. Say Republicans sell a lifestyle. When I talk about the psyop stuff with the election influence, I fully believe that that's Russia. And Jill Stein can catch these hands.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because Jill Stein, you are a Russian operative, baby, and you can catch these hands. But yeah, that was a whole different situation.
Got it.
With the Republicans, they definitely want their white supremacist power, right? This is a scheme to get white supremacy up. And they are good at selling a lifestyle that does not exist. I said they sell a lifestyle. And that's one thing I told Democrats. Is like, y'all are shit at messaging on a lifestyle.
Yes.
Y'all let them say everybody on the left was a bunch of childless cat ladies. Y'all should have been selling picket fences and engagement rings and happy because everybody across the political spectrum wants stability.
Yes.
Everybody pretty much wants that.
Right. And
they have been selling it, but they're selling it in a way to like push everybody down. Whereas I'm like, Democrats, y'all got to get better at whatever. Now, I say I take that with a grain of salt because I did have a lot of the same leftists tell me, well, Democrats are shit at messaging. And I was like, okay, but what made 92% of black women so incredibly intelligent that we could figure out a message that y'all apparently couldn't? Because that can only go so far. You can only blame messaging so much. Some of y'all are just stupid. But I'm sorry because you're going to really say, but then y'all say, no, you don't want to listen to black women when we said to vote. But obviously we're smarter than you then if we could figure out this cryptic messaging about not losing our rights. Oh my God. Oh, such a secret. But that aside, Republicans are very good at marketing a shit lifestyle to a bunch of people who are mad that the days of white supremacy and Jim Crow are gone. I mean, they appeal to that. And so that's why I knew she was going to lose, because misogynoir was going to be stronger than anything else in this election, because those white people want to stick to their racism.
Yes.
They're going to cut off their noses to spite their faces, because now we're going to see them losing Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and food stamps and everything else that is coming against them. Because, as Lyndon B. Johnson said, if you can convince the lowest white man that he's still better than the best black person, then you've succeeded. And that's what it's come down to. And so, yeah, but Republicans are also incredibly stupid. And so one way in which I say that is like, I compared a lot to what's gone in like 1930s Germany with the fall of the Weimar Republic and the rise of the Third Reich. And I think that's something to be tuned into, especially with Elon Musk,
Yep.
The unelected billionaire South African scammer being tied into Alternative for Deutschland, which is the AfD, which is the far-right party in Germany, like literal Nazis, right? It's good to be tuned into that, but we talk about how Hitler did what he did in 56 days, and the more the days go on, I was like, this man ain't gonna do shit in 56 days, because Hitler was evil as shit, but he was smarter. And even Trump is losing in the courts. He's the first big tell for me was that first Supreme Court decision that told Trump, nah, we're not going to step in and get rid of this temporary restraining order against you. That was the first big one. And I was like, that's the one. That's what I needed to see. I needed to see that the courts, even his own appointees, even Clarence Uncle Ruckus Thomas himself, voted in the 7 of the 7-2 decision. Like, I needed to see that. And when I saw that, I could take a breath, because despite everything else, all of those judges and those appointees, they don't want to give up their own power. And when J.D. Vance's goofy ass got up there and said, we get to interpret the law, all the judges were like, no, wait a minute, bitch. Because you're going to be here for 4 years. That's their plan. Is like, they're like, Trump wants to be in forever, but they were we want to see you for 4 years, and you did. Yeah. But we have lifetime appointments.
We're here forever. Yeah.
Why are we going to give up our interpretive powers for your ass? Because the Supreme Court has gone against Trump before in many decisions over the years. What they fall in line with, again, is the very anti-abortion, the bullshit that we see from the GOP. But that doesn't necessarily mean they ascribe to Trumpism. And so all that being said, I have hope, because I think they're going to start eating themselves. I think they're really going to start having it out, and we're going to see all these white male egos start to implode. That's the hope that I have. That's what I'm seeing. And there's more of us than there are of them. So I think if people can stay energized and keep pushing back, we might, it's going to get shitty. It's going to get worse.
Yep.
But I think we can come out the other side.
Right. Worse before it gets better. You really are giving me hope, because I really do subscribe. And my biggest fear was that the checks and balances in the courts would not stand up to it because of appointees and other structures that have been degraded. And to hear from a legal expert that no, it's things are holding up for the time being is quite reassuring.
Even reinstating a bunch of the fired federal employees because of the court decisions. And then Trump yesterday decided to backtrack and say, I'm rescinding my directive about firing thousands of federal employees. We'll just look at reductions in force. And that's the thing. All these agency heads, if you work for the federal government and you're in leadership and you're listening to this, tell them you don't have any room to reduce any of the force. No reduction in force. It's not possible. And just tell them, no, you don't have to fucking do it. You don't have to do this shit. You don't have to do it. Fuck those Doge emails. They're asking you 5 things you did this week. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Don't send that shit. Because what they're doing with that is they're trying to create a map of what everybody's working on as far as classified and unclassified documents, and link that in their own map outside of your secured servers of your agencies and recreate that with Doge. Don't fall for the cybersecurity bullshit. Don't do it. Just don't do the shit. I don't know how to explain it to anybody. It's kind of frustrating me the way people... that's the most frustrating part, is going to see people who are complying, and I'm like, don't do that.
Why? Because how could that? Most people are not even aware of any of this, and they're not plugged into any of it. So they get an email from their boss or supervisor, and they're just like, normal people just do follow the rules, I guess.
But I'm like, you work at HHS and RFK Jr., that man got a worm in his head. Tell him to go fuck himself. You're not answering the email. I don't give a shit. Tell him we can't do that. Bully him. He already got bullied over the MMR vaccine. He sat there for years talking about being anti-vaxxer. As soon as the kid died with measles in Texas, now he's going, ooh, get your vaccines, y'all. That man ain't shit. He's weak as water. These people are weak. They are spineless. I said the Republicans got all the skeletons in the closets, but not one spine. How you got all them skeletons and can't find a spine? Not one.
Wow. All right. We're making t-shirts. Put it on the t-shirt. We have to take a break. You've answered most of my questions for the top of the show. This is beautiful. But before we take a break, I must quiz you with our court-mandated trivia segment. It's a multiple-choice question. It is about legal precedents and case law.
Oh, hell.
I don't know. I don't know if you're going to... I always ask guests trivia in their wheelhouse, and I'm always worried, like, oh, they're going to get it right away, or they're going to hem and haw. So are you prepared to be quizzed?
I mean, I'm not, but let's do it.
You're not the first person to say this. This week's episode is about legal matters and comedy, and I've got some trivia that will make a pretty good Venn diagram of both of those. Elizabeth, did you know that until 1973, it was totally legal to commit homicide in Texas?
No.
Under a very specific circumstance.
I can't say I'm surprised, but I didn't know.
Yeah, I figured. You couldn't just walk around shooting people, but you could only shoot them in the very specific circumstance, according to Article 1220. Is it 1220? How would you pronounce a 4-digit article of law?
I don't know. I'd probably say 1220.
1220?
Yeah.
Article 1220 of the Texas Penal Code. There is one situation where it's totally okay to murder someone until it was repealed in 1973. And just for context, this has nothing to do with like manslaughter laws or self-defense. I'm going to give you 3 choices, 3 scenarios. One of them is real, and 2 of them I made up from the old noggin here. Are you prepared?
Okay.
A, in Texas, you could legally murder someone for blaspheming within 30 yards of a church or other religious building. Blaspheming includes taking the Lord's name in vain, criticizing the church, or engaging in, quote, lewd behavior on holy grounds. Just shoot them dead. That's choice A. Or is it choice B? In Texas, you could legally murder someone for stealing cattle or horses from your ranch if the thief does not have just cause to steal them. Just cause includes taking revenge for cattle that you stole from their ranch, poisoning or killing their livestock or crops, and a variety of other stipulations. Note, this does not apply to other livestock. It's only cattle or horses. So if they steal sheep, no murder, not allowed. That's choice B.
Okay.
Or is it C? In Texas, you could murder someone for having sex with your wife as long as you kill him, quote, before the parties to the act have separated, unquote. But if you gave your wife consent to have the affair, you can't kill the other guy. Spoiler alert, if the woman does the revenge killing, the law doesn't apply. So she goes to jail. That's choice C.
I feel like it's C.
She knew it right away. What's your reasoning? What's your feeling on this?
Man, they hate women in Texas. That sounds... Because that just sounded real accurate. So the second one, I don't think it's B because I can't recall any state that for that long into the 70s would allow you to use deadly force when it comes to chattel.
Okay.
And I think Texas, I feel like Texas is still not in that. The church one is wild as shit. I almost thought it could be A, but I was like, nah. But I'm going with C.
All right. Elizabeth goes with C. We will find out if she's correct after this very important break. You know what time it is, and I know what time it is. It's time to thank the people who make this show possible over at patreon.com/influencepod. The folks who support at any tier, but especially the folks who I get to thank every single week on this very program at the executive producer tier. That's $10 or more per month. They include Bowie Barks, Dominic Kerr, William, and Duran. Every week, I mix up the order of those names. You don't know who's going to be first. You don't know who's going to be last. Who's going to be in the middle? You just got to listen to find out. Head on over to patreon.com/influencepod to find a tier that's right for you and help me cover amazing creators like Elizabeth, who is just so inspiring. I'm so thrilled with how this conversation's going. And we have to find out if she's going to get this trivia question correct. I'm back with Elizabeth Booker Houston. She is tearing it up on social media, dropping the knowledge and the comedy at the same time. Please go into the doobly-doo and subscribe to all of her Substacks, Instagram, not the TikTok. She's not there anymore. And before the break, we asked her which of these laws was on the books in Texas before 1973. You could murder someone just for doing these actions. Was it A, Blaspheming within 30 yards of a church, shoot him dead? Or was it B, if someone steals your cattle, you can shoot him? Or is it C, if someone's having sex with your wife, you can shoot them dead and all is forgiven? Elizabeth immediately chose C because, come on, obviously. I always give guests a chance to reconsider during the break. Are you going to change your answer? I know you were considering A.
I'm gonna keep my answer. I'm gonna keep B. B will shock the shit out of me. I'm gonna tell you right now. I hope it's not B because I ruled that out immediately. But I'm gonna stick with C.
Okay. I'm pleased to inform you that according to an academic paper written in 1959 by William M. Ravkind at the Dedman School of Law entitled "Justifiable Homicide in Texas," this person was alarmed to note that Article 1220 of the Texas Penal Code states, quote, "Homicide is justifiable when committed by the husband upon taken in the act of adultery with the wife, provided the killing takes place before the parties to the act have separated. Such circumstances cannot justify a homicide where it appears that there has been on the part of the husband any connivance in or assent to the adulterous connection," end quote. I went on to read a little bit further that this does not specifically mean you can only shoot them while they're fucking. It kind of means as their relationship is ongoing, you may murder. But, and here's the kicker. There's a real webpage on the internet right now on texas.gov with frequently asked questions. It's an FAQ. And one of them says, "Can you shoot a person caught having sex with your spouse?" And the answer is no. That law was repealed in 1973.
Oh my God. Come on, Texas. Come on, Texas. Damn. I can't even say I'm shocked, though. It's Texas. They're crazy.
It's a frequently asked question.
And I'm from Tennessee. Like, if I'm saying you're crazy.
You're from Memphis. That's right?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like a lovely, beautiful place, but obviously a challenging place for people of color and other. Before we move on. Crazy. Yeah. Did you live your whole childhood there? Did you kind of bail out when you went to college? Like, what was your trajectory growing up?
I was there for 27 years. First 27 years of my life. So right. I did, all 3 of my degrees in Memphis, Tennessee, and then I left. But I love my hometown. I'll always love Memphis. Elon Musk, pay your goddamn light bill, okay? Because he built a supercomputer in Memphis, in South Memphis, and he owes $400,000 to the light bill. They need to shut his lights off. I'm very upset about that.
Cool. Yeah, we should be. As we wrap up here, I like your videos a lot where you're seeing a headline, right? It's like, it's hey, CBS News says this. And you're like, okay, cool. That's important. But actually, here's what's actually going on. And so, you have expertise in topics. And when you have it, you're like, boom, I'm going to break it down. But what about topics that you're like, this is important and I got to talk about it, but it's not your wheelhouse? Do you avoid that? Do you do a bunch of research? How do you approach that sort of stuff, if ever?
I don't talk about anything I don't want to talk about.
Okay. But wanting to talk about and expertise, right?
That's the cool thing about the Instagram collaboration feature is I will have somebody else who's in my circle, who's an expert, and I'll collab on their video. And I'll be like, hey, so that's usually the way that I get around that. Or I'll just reroute people to other sources. But I don't have to speak on everything. I think that's the craziest thing about the internet is you ain't got to speak on everything. You can find your own thing.
You should tell that to some internet commenters because they feel like they need to.
They feel like they do. But I kind of stick to what I know. And if I don't know it, I'm not trying to give people wrong information. That's not where I'm at. But also the whole reason I post is because I'm inspired to post. I can go days without posting something. Sometimes I'll post 3 times in a day. It's all, I don't have a particular schedule. I do contracts. I do a lot of sponsored work. That's how I get paid. That's how I make my money on social media. But my contracts are real loosey-goosey. It's very much, will you talk about healthcare? And it's real broad. And I'm like, All right. You know,
what kind
or,
of
you know.
brand, like what kind of brands or organizations are they? Activism organizations, or are they
Yeah.
corporate brands? What are we talking about?
I've worked with corporate brands. I've worked with IHG hotels before. I only work with brands I actually fuck with. I do not sell people shit I don't use. I'm a diamond member at IHG through my own money, booking my own hotels. And they stood 10 toes down on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if you see me working with IHG in the future, that's why. But
I'm not familiar with. Is that a nationwide hotel chain?
Yeah. That's IHG is the name for like a Holiday Inn, Intercontinental, Kimpton,
okay,
that
great.
whole all over the world. So
all right, so they stuck to their guns on DEI and everything. Good.
Yeah,
good. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, they stuck to their guns on DEI. They were like, "What the fuck? No." So
no, this is great. That. It's working great here.
Yeah, they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with y'all?" So yeah, brands like that. I've worked with Ground News in the past, which is a news app to help you kind of verify sources and also understand bias. Okay. I've worked with different organizations, Congressional Black Caucus PAC, of course, which I have ongoing partnerships with. They, of course, sponsored my coverage last night at the Capitol and also my series No Distractions. I've worked with Brennan Center for Justice, Everytown for Gun Safety Action Fund, Greenpeace USA to talk about their lawsuit, amplify their issues. Talked with just a whole lot of different orgs, reproductive rights orgs. And then there's sponsored stuff I do for free. Sometimes I just do stuff for free. Small nonprofit stuff like that. Just to help get the word out. Yeah, like just whatever. I'm not trying to be greedy around here. Just trying to get the word out. And so I'm really glad that I'm able to work with those brands. I'm trying to branch out now and maybe do some more partnerships. Microsoft. Hey. I'll be pitching myself to you.
Oh, hello.
So let's talk about it. Again, working with companies and orgs that I believe in and align with. I also reject a lot of offers all the time for that reason. I'm not, whoever contacted me recently in my inbox about supplements, I'm not selling that shit. No. Don't ask me again.
No, thanks. Your content is so dense, yet accessible, but like what happens when you get something wrong? What do you do?
I retract it and I make a video and I apologize. It's happened.
And when you say retracted, do you pull the video completely down?
Hell yeah.
Good.
Even if I just like fuck up some way. I had something where I made a comment in a video where I claimed something that really was not something I was supposed to be claiming that I assisted with. And it was because it was one of those live interviews where I was like, whatever. And so it wasn't like me recording and talking and I didn't catch that fucked up. And I had a friend text me and was like, hey, but that was like my thing. You didn't give me credit. I was like, you're right. Let me delete that shit. And then I just pulled the video down. Like it is what it is. Like within like 5 minutes. Like,
which is, it's that, maybe you have a different outlook. It hurts to delete something that has thousands or millions of views on it. But you're not phased.
I literally don't care. I just don't. The only thing I would care about is like, of course, if it's vital information, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you want me to take this down and like getting this resource to people. But no, my ego's not that big.
Yeah. Well, right. It hamstrings the virality, the reach of it.
But it still sucks. Like, especially because like that's how you build. I see what you're saying, but I'm kind of at like a fuck it. I got no fucks to give kind of thing. And so I've had friends, just reach out and be like, oh man, I don't think you should have said it like that. And I'm like, oh shit. Or like one time I stepped in and I said something about some lizard people. I didn't know that was an anti-Semitic trope. I was like, bitch, what? I had somebody reach out. They were like, that's an anti-Semitic thing. I said, shut the fuck up. I took that video down quick. I was like, y'all, let me tell you what I learned so you don't do the same shit.
Right. And then you talk, like the act of talking about it later is also feels very important. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I piss people off all the time anyway. So as long as it's like sticks to my morals and what I believe in, I don't care if people get mad and want me to take something down. But when you got friends coming to you or something like, ooh, I think you made a misstep on this. Or like, that was factually wrong. I'm like, ooh, let me fix that real quick.
This is good.
Thankfully,
it
doesn't happen often, but I'm not, that's why I try to be careful about what I post. That's also why I don't really go live. I'm very funny about that. A lot of creators like will go live and like it's funny because when I would go live on TikTok, you get my phone like, oh my God, it's like the one of 3 times a year she's live. Hey, what's going on? And last night was nerve-wracking because I went live for about 90 minutes in real time of interviewing Jasmine Crockett, Maxwell Frost, different folks coming into the room and doing commentary, and it actually went very, very well. But it's nerve-wracking to do stuff live. Yeah.
Wow. Yep. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but some of your recent videos, and maybe many of your videos, are about responding to trolls and haters, because you're taking their comments and then sort of flipping them around in order to like educate about why those commenters are wrong. Are you doing that more? What's your process there?
It's when I get a particularly good string of stupid people in the comments. I'll sometimes like rack up the screenshots for like a few weeks, because I'll get in bed and I'll kind of like scroll randomly, and I just kind of randomly see comments and I'll respond. And I do my clapback series. It was so nice of you to say to educate people. Not really. I just like to be mean as shit. And that's the other thing. I'm not a very politically correct person, and I'll call you ugly. I'll say,
but you can be mean, but then you always explain why they are wrong. You're not just being like, you suck. That's not the content, right?
Oh, well, okay. So I got two kinds of clapback series. There is a clapback series where it's literally just me talking mad shit about these people, going to their profile picture or something, usually white racist
Oh, I didn't see
students.
this. All right,
yeah, they're very popular. I'll have people every now and then be like, y'all want a clapback video? And Paul's like, yeah, girl, we need to laugh. Like I told one man, I said, you look like one of them thumb people from Spy Kids. Like, I just say crazy shit. I'm just mean to them. So I'll do that. But then there's also the clapbacks, like the guy the other day who was like, all of our federal stuff is funded by taxpayer dollars.
This is what I saw, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, you stupid motherfucker. And then I explained everything while insulting him, because it's like, that's not how this shit works. Yep. So that's the more educational one. But I do have a clapback series where I'm straight up just like ripping people like schoolyard, like check-in. Like, it's not even... There's nothing educational about it. It's pure entertainment.
Fight fire with fire at some point, because,
Yeah. Like, I had, I made a video, and they love to call me Section 8 baby mama. Oh, my God. They love to say I'm broken on welfare because I'm black.
Section 8 baby...
Section 8 baby mama.
Baby mama, okay.
The trope of black women. I've got to be a black welfare queen with no husband and a bunch of kids. That's what they love to say.
But, like, you are not, like, you literally are an employed professional mother
with a ring on my finger,
with a married mother. Like what?
Yeah, okay. They just want to be racist. They want to be racist so bad, and so they just throw the same tropes out. And sometimes I just respond with crazy shit. Like one guy, he said, "It's like, you can't even afford rent." I said, "You can't afford mouthwash." I said, "What is going on in your mouth?" I said, "My guy, you look like your teeth are fighting each other." Like, This is crowd work, but on the internet. It's very much crowd work on the internet.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, cool. Yeah. One more thing before we let you go, but you, and I don't know if you're still focused on this, COSA, the Kids Online Safety Act. I was very fascinated with it when it was coming up as a bill, and I covered it because I have kids, and we literally just got our 12-year-old daughter a phone yesterday.
I know you're freaking out.
We are and we aren't, because she's incredibly trustworthy. She's really good and has no interest in social media. And we've had long, deep discussions about why algorithms are bad for everyone, including kids. So this bill comes along and it's like, hey, what if kids can use the internet and we just turn off the algorithms so they can still access everything, they can search for everything, and they can have freedom of access and speech, but there's no for-profit motive to feed them anorexia videos and self-harm. And I was like, and it was bipartisan support, and I was like, let's go, let's do it, everyone. And then there was this blowback from LGBTQ groups and activists saying, like, if you do, and other journalists who were like, this is really bad. If we do this, it will censor content. The platforms will censor LGBTQ content because they're worried that it will reach kids and then they'll get sued or whatever. I was like, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't understand what you're saying. So I'm really eager to, so you went to bat pro COSA.
Pro-COSA, yeah.
And I would like to know more.
Yeah, so this is after amendments were made. So all of those concerns from the LGBTQ rights groups, the Human Rights Commission, all these folks were addressed, and they have dropped their concerns with COSA as the bill currently stands.
Great.
Because they made sure to include explicit information about not punishing platforms
Yes.
and not making them censor content.
Right.
And so that was all it was. It just needed some legal language.
It's
to
about
make sure,
the mechanism of content delivery, not the content itself. If you want to put porn on Instagram, I can still look at porn on Instagram, but it cannot be fed to my 12-year-old when she's scrolling or searching.
Exactly, because the things that get on kids' feeds, whatever you want to call timeline, FYP, whatever, like within minutes is nuts, because it is
We've covered it here.
It's horribly just oh gosh, what's the word? It's really, really targeting these kids. Yep. And as a parent, and my son's only 5, but I'm thinking about, man, I used to catfish dudes on AOL chat rooms when I was 10. shit's crazy now. So I'm like, I don't know. I know what I was doing on the internet.
The example that I tell anyone who will listen, parents, and we've in a previous incarnation of this show, we covered it, which was a young woman who went on Instagram and searched how to lose 5 pounds.
Yes.
Within an hour, she was getting how to be anorexic, how to hide anorexia from your parents. She became hospitalized. She almost took her life. Thankfully, she's still with us. And now she's suing Meta. And we interviewed the lawyers and her and her mom. Anyway, that's the shit that terrifies the fuck out of me. And COSA seems like the right way to figure it out.
Well, I got to, I was in tears, but witness a mother and her daughter who were speaking in front of the Capitol during the COSA rally, that her daughter, because of the way that the algorithm was feeding her, not just like allowing her to connect with people, this older man kidnapped her and held her hostage for over a month.
Jesus fuck.
And I won't describe what happened because in case, trigger warning for folks out there, but it was the worst that you can think of as, aside from death, to this little girl for about 30 days. And her mother was able to finally track her down, find her and everything else and rescued her. And the girl and her mom were there. I gave the mom a hug. I was just like, tears, like, oh my God, thank you for being here and sharing your story. And that kind of stuff is scary too, because it's not just even just feeding information. It can feed them pages that then connect them with groups and people who are insidious.
Yes.
So there's all kinds of layers to it. There's the bullying aspect of it. There's so much to it. And so I know that people were in my comment section going, well, parents just need to parent better. And I was like, you know what? All these parents that I saw, including parents who had the ultimate loss, parents who were photos of their children because their children are no longer here because of what they experienced on the internet and taking their lives.
I think about this a ton. The only reason I can parent my kid in this way is because I'm a fucking expert.
Exactly.
I'm putting air quotes. I've been covering this shit for 15 years, so I can talk about it. I don't know how a car works or how to cook fancy food. Like, everyone has their area of expertise.
Yes.
So I should not be teaching kids how to drive, and you should not be teaching kids, not you, like... Other people should not be responsible to explain the dangers of algorithms to children.
It's and I'm just like, these are good parents who did everything, quote, did everything right.
Yep.
The world is just crazy. And you know what? What is the harm in trying to protect kids from something like this? So I'm very pro COSA. The LGBTQIA plus concerns were very valid, but they were addressed.
Good.
And those organizations have now said that they don't have any issues with
That's
the bill.
awesome. So where is the bill? Is it on the way? It's stuck?
It's stuck right now. So we'll see. The government has a good chance of shutting down in about 9 days. There's so much going on in Congress right now, but I'm trying to keep track of it. But as of right now, it's still not.
Okay. All right. So. This is really helpful. I'll be keeping an eye on it as well.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, you alluded to it, but like, is U.S. democracy holding on? Meaning, are you optimistic that courts and legislature will sort of keep us on the rails and get us through 4 years here, or what?
We just need to get through 2. And get those midterms to flip things around. If we can get through 2 years, so I keep telling everybody, I know you're thinking 4. Hold on for 2.
Okay.
And then get out there and vote. Because I do think we have a chance. I think we have a good chance.
But I guess, and I'm sorry, this is very ignorant, but it's so much executive order stuff that is not law. And so it feels like even if we have Congress, there's so much shit that's just happening without any consent. You know what I mean? But maybe
it
none
feels
of that
way. But most of his executors, as Maxwell Frost said in my interview with him yesterday, most of them have been overturned in court.
Okay.
I mean, they just have. And so he's wasting everybody's time. He's wasting taxpayer dollars fighting lawsuits. If y'all want to talk about fraud, waste, and abuse with Doge, they're causing it. They're causing the fraud, the waste, and the abuse. And Russ Vought, who is the director of the Office of Management and Budget in the White House, straight up said, I want to traumatize people. He said that. They didn't say, this is key. They didn't say we want to actually accomplish what these things are saying.
Right.
We want to scare the shit out of everybody and break them down. So don't let them break you down mentally, because that's what they're trying to do. And that's been the wildest part of all of this, is like they don't even have in their dumb minds a plan to actually carry out most of the shit they're saying. They just want to fuck with people. It's like watching like 4chan trolls go in the fucking White House and just like do crazy shit.
But it like... Is you really have an entire party that's just in it for the lulz? Like, what is the goal?
The goal is to be dicks. I don't even know. Like at this point,
it's so
mind
blowing.
But all that being said, I'd be gone. I'd be moving. So if I pack my shit and go, and I'm like, hey, deuces, hey.
Okay, look. Yeah. So if Elizabeth leaves the country, it's time to pack the shit up. Okay, but if she's here, we have hope.
I think we do.
Please go into the video description and show notes and follow Elizabeth. Where can people, if you would send people to one place to connect with you, is it Instagram, or where would you send them?
Instagram is great. Also, Substack, and my YouTube is growing. I'm going to be doing long form content on YouTube. So all of those are great places.
Okay. All those links will be in the show notes. Elizabeth Booker Houston, thank you for keeping us on the rails and fighting the fight and inspiring more people to do so. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Democracy is hanging on by, perhaps by a thread, but by some very important and perhaps pretty strong threads. Let's keep it up. Let's keep the pressure up. Let's keep talking about it. Let's not lose momentum. As we covered here, 50501, protest organizing, and of course, the awareness, the knowledge, the education, the pushback that we get from amazing creators like Elizabeth. Thank you for doing what you do out there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following and supporting creators like Elizabeth. Thanks for subscribing to this show. And I just hang in there, all right? The fight is not nearly over, and there's reasons to be optimistic. For now, I do implore you, please be kind, rewind your podcast after listening, and I will talk at you in 1 week's time.